Hey guys, this is the first part of my video guide series to the Firebolt build. I have this written guide over on Mobalytics. There's a link in the description. And yeah, I'll be talking about the non-immortal variant here. So this is mainly for leveling, or if you're still not immortal, which you're probably not going to be while still leveling, or if you've just reached max level. I've been experimenting with this on my alt. It's currently level 76. Yeah, the way the build works is you put down the firewall, and then this Flameweaver unique will split it if you shoot Firebolt through it, as you can see, and then it will also increase the damage. So you generally want to put down the firewall. You can stand inside it and it will split it as well, but you can also stand from range and shoot through it. Yeah, you can do it like this. You can just stand inside your firewall and just like spin around and shoot everything, and then the fireball enchantment will explode whenever mobs die, and it will do big AoE damage as well. I think Blizzard and Incinerator are also very good to level with. I think the main advantage of this one is probably the single target damage. The single target damage on this is quite a bit stronger. It does require the Flameweaver unique, but that one also isn't too hard to get, so I can show you how you can get that. While you're doing Helltide, you will pick up some of these living steel. There is a chest, like one of the special chests. I'll show you. I'll go over there and get it. I think they are only in World Tier 3 or 4. I don't think they're in the first world tier. Anyway, you have this gift of living steel that drops I think minimum 5. I think you also can get living steel from other chests. I'm trying to open this one as well. That gave me 1 living steel as well. So after you've gathered some living steel from doing Helltides, you go down here, all of the pendants, south of Kedbardu, and here you can summon Greg, the boss that drops the Flameweaver unique. So I'll show you how you can do that now. You can do this on both World Tier 3 and 4. I think on World Tier 3 I think it costs 2 living steel per summon, and on World Tier 4 it costs 5. You go to this thing and you see, yeah, I'm on World Tier 4, so it costs 5. This spawns this boss. As you can see, the single target damage on this is quite strong. And then he has a chance to drop the gloves. So now you might not get it on the first ride like I did, but what you can do is you can just leave the dungeon and then you can reset it and you can try it again until you either get them or you maybe run out of mats. So you go here, reset dungeons, and we can enter again. In the next patch, if you're watching this during season 5 or later, there's gonna be, or you can just resummon it without having to go out and reset the dungeon. But this is still season 4, so for now we gotta run out and reset. Yeah, I'll do one more time. I don't know the exact chance to get them, but usually get them within like a few kills at least. This time we didn't get one. I got the staff. I farmed these at level 37 doing the World Tier 3 one, since you see they're sacred. Now for the stats on this, the main thing you're looking for is just a high aspect percentage. So you can see the ones I have already are 70%, and these new ones I got are 46%. So even though the rolls on the other gloves are lower overall, I'm gonna keep using these for now, because 70% is a lot bigger than the 46%, and it's gonna be more damage overall. If this was 62 or 66%, I would use these over these ones. So yeah, that's these ones are probably required to play this build. I think the second most important thing is probably the Moonrise aspect. It greatly buffs your basic skill attack and gives you attack speed. But if you at least have the Flameweaver gloves, you can play this build. Let's look at the gear and the skills and everything like that. So all of this is, laid out in my guide. Link in the description. You can check the non-immortal variant. So I have different ones, but yeah, this is the one you can check for leveling or not immortal yet. So yeah, right now I'm using this Godslayer crown because I just found one that had a 60%. Pretty good for pulling mobs together, but you definitely don't need to use this if you don't have it. If you have a Shaco because you have another character, You should definitely use that. That's probably your best helm. I think you could also use an Andariel if you have one of those. But if you have none of the uniques or no Ubers or anything, you can just use a legendary helmet. I had this one I used earlier. Not very ideal stats at all. You want cooldown reduction, you want intelligence, and a third stat is probably just like max life, armor, lucky hit, something like that. Probably the max life or armor is good if you need that. For the tempers, you know, flame shield duration is pretty good. But you could also go for just like armor percent, or you could go for the flame shield duration. You could also go for the armor max life dodge chance. Armor if you are lacking it. So right now, if you hover over armor, you can see reduces physical damage taken from enemies of equal level by 84%. Now this caps out at 9230 for max reduction against level 100 enemies. So armor is useful up until that cap of 9230. So if your you know, if your armor is very low, maybe you want to go for the total armor percent. Otherwise you can go for the flame shield duration. Flame shield duration is good because, you know, it makes your flame shield last longer. The second one isn't important, but I think like any CC, any of these is fine. On the chest, it's kind of the same thing. Here I went for the armor, I think. Doesn't really matter too much. Now there is a stat on chest that you can get, which is very good, which is the plus ranks to flame shield. Ideally your chest will have that one, but if it doesn't, you know, just get some max lives and just get some armor, get some intelligence. All those are going to be helpful. Yeah, the Flameweaver gloves we already talked about. This aspect percent is the most important, 70%. The higher the better, but any glove is better than none. On legs you have the same tempers as on chest and head. Flame shield duration or just any of the max life, armor. And on the legs you can also roll plus Firebolt skill, which is, you know, very good for this build. Now you don't need to have it, but you know, it is very good if you find legs with Firebolt skill. But if you don't, you can also just use something like this, just like roll like either flame shield duration, or you can go for the max life or armor. You could also go for resistances if you're lacking a lot of those. So let's look at my resistances right now. Yeah, they're quite low. I even have like diamonds gemmed, because my resistances are quite low. I could maybe swap this out for like individual resistances and then maybe temper a couple of resistances. But yeah, now you could also, if you're lucky, you could also enchant the plus Firebolt skill. But I wouldn't really want to waste too much on that. It's quite, you know, a few rolls is quite cheap, but the gold cost quickly adds up. And also Angel Breath is something that you might run out of, so maybe just roll like a couple times like I did now to see if you can get it, and if not, then you can just keep whatever you got. Like I got armor. You know, if I swap this out, I would be above the armor cap. Would be good, but I would lose some Firebolt skill. So if you find Firebolt legs, you know, that's very good. Otherwise, you can just use something else. Boots. I think the main thing is you want the attacks reduce the wade's cooldown by 1.5 seconds, because, you know, you have these different ones plus maximum evade charges and the evade grants plus movement speed. And most of the time we're just standing still and attacking, and we're attacking very fast, so it means we reset the evade cooldown very fast. You can use the teleport enchantment. I can mainly use that to move around. I think that's the most important. The other stats I want is probably intelligence, max life, and armor. Could also get some move speed. All of those stats are going to be useful. But I would suggest getting into max life armor on boots if you can. For the tempers, you can also roll a weight cooldown on this. I'll show you here. So you have this one as the weight cooldown reduction. I think that's probably the best temper to get. It's not too bad if you get like movement speed or something either. But we are standing still for most of the time, so it would be better with the weight cooldown. And the second one can just be one of the CC ones as well. For weapons, the tempers are probably the most important, because they have both the Firebolt projectiles to cast twice chance, which is a lot of damage. So I would suggest just rolling weapons until you get like a high roll of these. Then you also want ideally Pyroman's attack speed. But I think both fire damage and fire damage over time are also useful for this build. Crit strike damage and master damage not so much. So I think ideally you want the attack speed, but then if you don't get that, if you at least get fire damage over time or fire damage, that's also fine. The other stats I wouldn't worry about too much. Intelligence is good, max life is good, damage over time is good, damage percentage is good, and vulnerable damage are probably the ones that are most useful. So here I found a 925 item power wand earlier. I can try and roll that. But if you don't hit the chance for Firebolt projectiles to cast twice, it's pretty much unusable. Oh, look at that, I got the max one, but now I only have one roll for the other one. Let's see what I get. I got master damage, and that means I'm probably not going to use this weapon. Maybe I have another one. Here I have another one. I got the attack speed. No, maybe I can't hit the Firebolt. Don't mix it up with the Fireball, because I see a lot of people have done that. Chance for Fireball. It's the Firebolt that you want. Yeah, there you go. So this might be an upgrade for me because of the item power on the weapons. Item power is very important, so yeah, like I said, the other stats don't really matter. It is nice if it has a socket, because then you can socket Topaz, which gives you plus basic damage. Yeah, and for the other stats, I think it doesn't really matter. Max life is good, vulnerable damage is good, damage over time is good, and damage percentage, and obviously also intelligence. The other ones aren't very useful. Overpower damage is not very good. Crit is also not good because our build doesn't scale with crit very much, because most of our damage is burning, and burning damage can't crit, so you want like those other ones. But anyway, this is fine. Same with wand really, or I mean focus. You want the same tempers, Firebolt projectile, double cast chance, and Pyroman's attack speed ideally, but also fire dot damage or fire damage is fine. On focus you can also get cooldown reduction, which I think is also very good. And the last stat, let's see what I can roll. So last stat, the best ones are probably going to be max life or damage percentage if you need more damage, or like if you don't need the max life, and intelligence. Intelligence is probably best, and then either max life or damage, and CDR if you can get it. But if you can't get the cooldown reduction, I don't think you need to worry too much about it. So yeah, you can just like, you know, whatever you find, you can just roll, try and hit the chance to cast Firebolt twice, and then fire damage over time. Only 2 tempers left. I think I'm just gonna keep this for now, and I'm just gonna roll the max resource away to maybe damage or max life, or I can't get max life. Oh no, it already has max life. I mean, I'll roll to intelligence so I can get it. There we go. Right, that's a nice upgrade. On rings, I think you definitely want int and attack speed, and then the third one. Yeah, actually, if you find a ring with this, up to % chance to make enemies vulnerable on lucky hit, that one is very good to have on one of your rings. I wouldn't recommend rolling for it on the enchanter too much, because it's quite hard to hit. So there's like a lot of different stats you can get. You can also get vulnerable damage is fine, damage is fine, also damage over time is fine, but also max life is you know, useful. Maybe all resist as well. But yeah, if you can find a ring with this, maybe also with int or attack speed, that would be very good. Let's see if I hit it. The next 3 rolls, 1, 2, 3 now. I'll just keep the max life on for now. Maybe I found one here. But yeah, if you find a ring like this, ring of max life, attack speed, you can roll the cold resist to intelligence. That'll be like a useful ring. Oh, here's one. Perfect. So I can show you this. So now I just roll to intelligence on this one. You could also take like damage over time over intelligence, something like that. Could be like this. Intelligence is kind of nice though, because it also gives you damage, of course, but it also gives you resistances. But yeah. So if you find a ring like this with the lucky hit chance to make enemies vulnerable, you can swap out one of the aspects. Oh yeah, and the tempers. You should actually always temper first, because you might not hit the tempers you want, and then you don't want to be enchanting it, right? But on the rings, it's mainly just the attack speed you need, or the fire damage or fire damage over time. Unless I'm extremely unlucky, I will find at least one of them. I did find fire damage over time. I think I'm gonna roll again, because I still have 4 chances left. Got fire damage. I'll try another one. Fire damage again. Alright, I'm gonna keep this now because I only have one chance left, so there's a decent chance I'm not gonna hit anything useful. The resource, like none of these are very useful to us. I think I will just go for the, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. We don't use mana, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so now I got the lucky hit, chance to make enemies vulnerable. That means I can swap it out for, see, this one is worse. But yeah, if you don't have a ring with that lucky hit chance, you want to play this aspect if you have it. It basically has the same effect as the affix on the ring. It makes enemies vulnerable, but this one also does some damage. But so yeah, if you find a ring with it, then you can replace it. So on the other ring, I was using Inner Calm. That's a good one. But now that I have this, I can swap out this one. You can swap it for Shredding Blades if you have that. So this might be a bit confusing because it says Ice Blades and we don't use Ice Blades in our bars, but it's only the second part of the effect that we care about. You gain 30% vulnerable damage, which basically just means you do 30% extra damage to vulnerable enemies. So you can ignore the Ice Blades part. So if you have this, you can play that. Another one you can use is the, I have some wrong tempers on these weapons. I'm gonna swap them out. I use Moonrise. It doesn't matter like where you put these on the rings and the weapons, but like Moonrise on weapon and then Rapid on offhand if you have that. Inner Calm, the last one. Yeah, like I said, Shredding Blades. Or you can do Storm Swell if you have that. You'll increase damage to vulnerable enemies while you have a barrier. You can also do Conceited if you have that. Deal 25% increased damage while you have a barrier active. Let's look at some other ones. So we don't have any core skills that can crit. Well, we do have Fireball, so I guess this could also be used. Their crit chance is very low, but yeah, I mean, you could play this, I guess, if you have this. Crackling Energies, we don't use. This one you would play if you don't have this. Make enemies vulnerable on your ring. We don't use that key passive. We don't use Inferno. Yeah, you could use Aspect of Control. It wouldn't be as good, I think, as the other ones that I've mentioned. You could also play this. Also, again, wouldn't be as good as the other ones. Engulfing Flames, you could definitely play. Buffs your burning damage. Yeah, this one as well, you could play. Retribution. But yeah, I'm gonna play Shredding Blades. There we go. So yeah, Rapid, Moonrise. I think Moonrise is most important, then probably Rapid. Then you just want some aspects that increase your damage. Another thing with the ring, if you do have a Talrasha, like one of these, then I would swap it out for one of them. Because uniquely this one gives cooldown reduction, and also gives a massive damage buff. So yeah, I would play this combination if you have the Talrasha ring. So this ring you can farm from the boss down here. And for that you need one of all of these 4 materials. Or is it 2? I think it's 1 of each. So if you have some of these, you know, you can go and try and get this ring. If not, you know, just use something like this. That's fine. Neck. I think I have a lot of options on neck. I think ideally you want attack speed and cooldown reduction. The last one, the best one would be Glass Cannon. Ranks to Glass Cannon. But I wouldn't bother to roll for it. I think the reason you want to go for attack speed and cooldown reduction is because when you do eventually try to become immortal, those 2 stats are the most important for the permanent flame shield. For tempers on this, you can also go for flame shield duration and also the same like pyromancer speed or fire damage over time or fire damage. I was a bit unlucky with the offensive aspect here or temper. I got the mastery damage, which only buffs our fireball, and fireball does like no damage compared to our firebolts. But it did hit the perfect flame shield duration, so I'm gonna keep this for now. Yeah, right now I'm playing Hectic on Amulet because it gives us a lot of cooldown reduction. You could potentially use Hectic on like one of your other slots and then play another offensive aspect, or even better play Moonrise on neck and then play something else in your weapon. But I like the extra cooldown reduction on neck. Gives us our defensive cooldowns back faster. And yeah, the aspects on the other slots on chest. I think on chest on legs you want like damage reduction. So here I'm playing Everliving, which you know, just reduces the damage you take from crowd control or vulnerable enemies. And since most of the enemies you fight are going to be crowd controlled or vulnerable, this will be up most of the time. And this one as well, basic skills grant 20% damage reduction of might. And since we always cast basic skill with Firebolt, this will always be up. So if you have those two, I think those two are potentially the best ones. There are a few other ones you could play. Disobedience would be good. If you lack armor, just gives you a stacking armor to 40%. That is something you could play. You could also play like Aspect of the Protector, gives you a barrier when you damage an elite. Increased dodge chance, not the most useful I think, but it's better than nothing if you don't have the other ones. I wouldn't recommend this one because it increases your cooldown, evade cooldown, and we rely on evade a lot, so I think it's too much of a downside. You can also use protecting. This one is pretty useful. Just gives you like an immunity bubble when you're hit sometimes. But yeah, I think either the ever living of might or maybe disobedience for armor would be the best ones here. And boots, here we can have utility and mobility. So right now I'm using exploiters, which gives you a nice increase crowd control duration, but also maybe more importantly when enemies are unstoppable, which means they are immune to CC, deal 40% increased damage. This is one of the few utility ones that actually give you a significant damage increase. You also have concussive strikes if you have that, and not this one. That also kind of gives you some CC and some extra damage, can be very nice. I think also this one, Fortune, can be useful because we have a lot of lucky hit effects. We have the thing on the ring, and we also have these lucky hit CC tempers. So that's also another one you can use if you don't have the other ones. You could also use some mobility if you feel like you're very slow. You could use like 20% move speed, reduce teleport cooldown. Yeah, any of those are fine. Now for the skills, we put 5 points in the Firebolt, Enhanced Firebolt, and Glinting. We don't need mana, so this increases burning damage, it's very good. Firebolt will only take 1 point, Enhanced Firebolt, and Greater Fireball. So this you can just use for additional burst damage on a target that has a lot of burn applied to it. But you most of the time you don't need to use this very often, but we'd also use this as the enchantment. So that's why. I put 3 points into Potent Warding because I don't have enough resistances right now. And you're probably not going to be capped on resistances for a while, so I found these 3 points are worth it. 5 points in the Flame Shield. I don't take any bonuses here. I think I could, but I don't find them very important. But I do max out the skill because it gives you more duration. Teleport also 5 points, gives you a shorter cooldown. And this Shimmering, it gives you 30% damage reduction after using it. Very, very good. Then into Glass Cannon, it's a lot of damage. 1 point into this one because you don't really need more. Usually we'll proc it every 10 seconds anyway with a lucky hit. And I have 1 point into Ice Armor with no passives. Yeah, so these are like mana. Well, it says we don't use mana, we don't need those. This one applies chill and you deal 15% increased damage to frozen enemies. That could be useful if you have the lucky hit chance to freeze on one of your items. So I have 2 of them actually. That is something I could consider using. Increased lucky hit chance, pretty good, like I've shown. We have a lot of lucky hit effects. 1 point into this, so I can take 3 points into this one. This one is quite important, I think. Using a cooldown grants you a max life barrier, so that basically means whenever we teleport, Ice Armor, or Flame Shield, we're gonna get a barrier. So I max that out, I think it's very strong. Mana Shield you could also use, but we don't really spend too much mana, so it's not going to be up for most of the time. Because yeah, you're not supposed to spam Fireball and Fireball a lot, so Icy Whale Barrier, increased duration. I find that useful, especially if you play the Storm Swell aspect, because that requires you to have a barrier, or also the Seated aspect. Increased damage while I have a barrier. We take Inner Flames, just increases your damage. Devouring Blaze. So critical strike damage, like I said, we don't really scale with critical strike damage or crits. But we do have this legendary node, which increases our burning damage based on our critical strike damage bonus. So in effect, this also increases our burning damage. That's why I take that. I have 1 point into Crippling Flames, just for the small chance to immobilize. I don't think putting more points into this is necessary. I think it's just nice to have a small chance to immobilize. You can also get that as a temper, but I didn't get any of those, so I put 1 point into that so that I can also immobilize. It's good against like bosses to stack up the stagger bar faster. You need 1 point into Firewall because we needed to activate the Flameweaver, enhance Firewall, and then the Mage's Firewall to just add some extra burn. This one only gives mana regen instead, so here Fire Surge, mana regen, all and 1 point into this. So I think I got the second one from the Ring Temper, so that's pretty much useless. But yeah, there isn't really much else you can get here. I think the best one might be the Lucky Hit, up to 5% chance to restore primary resource, but that's mostly for when you start like pushing really high pits with this build. So for low level, I don't think there's much useful. I guess you could maybe pick up Inferno or Unstable Currents at some point and go with the ultimate cooldown reduction, but Endless Fire is just increase your burning damage. Soul Fire just 6% increased damage and doubling after staying still for 2 seconds, so this is all just a pure damage increase. Key passive, I play Combustion. You have seen, or in my guide I will also swap to Shatter, like once you become immortal, or like once you start like putting pits. And especially when you equip Raiment, because then you can stack all of them and the Shatter will explode on like the big groups of stacks. But for now, for leveling I found, or for low gear levels, I found Combustion to be slightly better. So yeah, skill slots I have Teleport, Ice Armor, Flame Shield, Firewall, Firebolt, Fireball. I think you're gonna need all these. You could maybe skip Fireball, but you do want it as the enchantment. The Teleport enchantment is also very good, especially with these attacks reduce weights cooldown by 1 to 5 second boosts. So for the Paragon points. So in my written guide, I have the Paragon set up right now for the immortal variant of the build. I haven't made a separate one for the non-immortal. And I think the main difference is that if you're still not immortal, you do want some extra defenses. I'll just show you like what it might look like when I am still level 76. I don't think you need to, be too worried about having the perfect board while you're still leveling. So I'm just gonna go up here and take anything that I find useful. So I think both of these are very good actually. You might not want to go from this side, but we can see. We do want this glyph, and these resist nodes are nice. I think we want a dex glyph here. So I don't have anything leveled apart from this destruction at level 9. We can put that in here and we can activate the bonus like this by putting 25 dex. And I see now also I can save a point by doing this. So I can go down here from here instead. So yeah, this is like, these nodes you normally wouldn't take in the immortal variant, but I think we're gonna need the extra resistances and the max life. I'm gonna take those instead. Now we can keep going up here. Non-physical damage is good. Non-physical. Then we can go to the next board. The second board, I would probably take the Burning Instinct. We want the glyph and we want the legendary node at least. This middle one is very strong. This one is pretty good. This is also a node cluster that you wouldn't take in the immortal one because it only gives you damage reduction and armor, but I think we definitely want that in this version. And this also gives you attack speed, which is useful because our gear level is so low, we're still missing a lot of attack speed. I think I actually want like all of these. I could go from here, let's like go up. I don't think it really matters. So let's see. Definitely want the glyph slot. These nodes are all very useful. And this board also has a lot of dex, I think, so you can use another one with a dex requirement. Like exploit, for example, let's just use exploit for now, I guess. We're almost at the requirement. Maybe we can't unlock it here. Oh, no, this one. Yeah, that unlocks it. And this one is good. Alright, so let's go up here. Damage elites, burning, all this is very good. I think also want to go down here for this. Armor, damage reduction. Damage reduction. And this Burning Instinct node. Because increase our burning damage based on our critical strike damage bonus and intelligence. So that's very good because most of our damage is burning. And then maybe we go down here as well for these attack speed nodes. Not sure if that's actually worth, but we can give it a try. Now we can go down here for the next board. The second one I would probably recommend the Frigid Fate. because the legendary note here is also very good, and it has some useful vulnerable here. I think we can just also leave it like this, and we can go down here, get some damage reduction, which also again you wouldn't get or you wouldn't take during the immortal variant. And I think you can either, like, so here I only have 2 points left. You could either go to the glyph or you could go straight to this one. I think I'm gonna go towards the glyph for now. But yeah, so yeah, with my next points I'd probably go like up here for the Frigid Fey node, and then I would take the glyph. I think this one has a lot of int, if I'm not mistaken. I would pick up this vulnerable damage, get like some ints in range, and then go out here probably. Could potentially go down and get some of these as well. That would probably be good. So we can maybe go down like something like this, take all of those and then go out like this. Or you could go down here, I'm not sure what's better. Then you could put in like, I don't know, anyway. And then you could go into, I don't know, Channel Master maybe. So this one also has a glyph with some resistances, which would be very good, and also some non-physical damage. And you could like, you know, go just through the glyph, get some of these, and then go through there, for example. Maybe pick up these max life ones, or these ones, I don't know, but yeah. So if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one.